And we are live, guys. And today it's not Sweden in the background, it is Switzerland. And it's a lot of people mix up Sweden and Switzerland, so let's straighten it out once and for all. Switzerland, that's chocolate, cheese, watches, Swiss banking, uncompromising quality. Sweden, hang on, let me just mute this one.
Is socialism, beautiful woman, smelly fish. Smelly fish is also part of Sweden.
Exactly. I would say Sweden is more like practically affordable. Like IKEA, H&M is actually very representative for Sweden. Meatballs. But we do also have Nobel Prize, ABBA, City of LARSSON, things like that. But James, you have actually lived here, right? Isn't
Yes,
it?
I did. Yes, quite a while.
How long ago was that?
Oh, that was in the 90s. So from 1990 to late 90s.
Oh, that's great.
Giving away your age here.
Before crypto. So
BC.
exactly, BC. I love that. And by the way, Bray, I just literally just stepped into a hotel room after a 24-hour flight. So
what's the room like?
It's as good as it gets. It's good. It's very old vintage place.
Where are you?
Some very obscure location on Earth. So, but it took me a few minutes to figure out how to turn the lights on. You gotta. So anyway.
That's important. We have a lot of things to cover here. I thought we'd cover the stablecoin mess and the US regulation, what is actually happening, what's happening from here. Is crypto going offshore after this? Is it like escaping the US control? What's happening with OpenSea versus Blur, the tokens? What's the case with BTC? And I also thought to say, what's our targets? Let's talk about targets for this whole cycle. We have some huge Solana news out this night and more things to talk about. So I'm very excited about this. Very happy to have you here. And let's start with the stablecoin mess. What is really happening? What's happening with the US regulation? Now we have digested last Monday's events a little bit. Should we start with Ran? What do you think?
Well, I mean, we've got to work out whether last month's attack was an attack on stablecoins or an attack on Binance, because there was speculation that the SEC would go after Circle after it issued the charges against Paxos, which is the issuer for BUSD. To date, that hasn't happened. So for now, I'm looking at the bull case. Wow, see, James is trying to find himself under the bed.
Trying to find a light.
So for now, I'm going to be bullish, and I'm going to assume that it was an attack on the Binance BUSD stablecoin and not really an attack on stablecoins. If we get an attack on stablecoins, then the terrain slightly changes. And I think what happens if we get an attack on stablecoins is two things. Initially, there's going to be a whole lot of shock, and it's going to lead people to be worried about the future of crypto. But then the value of money in crypto is actually going to increase because when people exit stablecoins, they're going to put the money into something, and they'll probably put the money into Bitcoin and ETH. And that may start a movement where we eliminate USDT and USDC, which were actually just supposed to be bridges from the old financial world into the new financial world. So we eliminate, we remove those pairs, and we start trading only against Bitcoin and ETH. That's the first thing that happens. Second thing is that then becomes very difficult to get money into crypto, and therefore your money in the crypto ecosystem, which is what I call global money, international money, crypto money, then becomes worth a whole lot more. So I think that if they do attack stablecoins, it will make us stronger because it will make more people be forced to exit their stablecoins into crypto, and that might push up the price of Bitcoin. That same thing happened in 2017, 2018, when people thought that Tether wasn't backed. And I remember what happened then was everyone just exited their Tether and went into Bitcoin. So for now, I'm being bullish and I'm saying it was an attack on Binance, it was an attack on BUSD, but if they attack Circle, then for me, that's the signal. That's what I'm looking for.
Oh, very interesting. James, what do you think? Now we digested this little.
You know, it's funny, and I'll speak very frankly here. the last 3 years, I've been blown away by governments and how some of their decision making is very off. Now, if the US, and I do agree with everything Rand said, I think it's a Binance related kind of attack. But if the US were to go after crypto full hog, it would destroy innovation in the country for the next, well, I guess until the next political wing gets into office, and they'll probably flip to the other side. And then I was thinking as well, what is their angle? I always not try to understand exactly why they're trying to do this. And I think, one of you mentioned it before, somebody mentioned it before, that Gary Gensler has egg on his face, and now he's trying to flex his muscle and say, look at me, I've got everything under control. But I think at the end of the day, it's the people that matter. And if everybody on YouTube, crypto YouTube, for example, if all of us got together, banded together, and asked all our viewers to write to their senators and Congress representatives with pre-filled boxes, literally we could change their minds. Because when you are an elected official, if enough people stand up and shout, they have to listen or they won't get voted into office. And that's all they care about. It's like a 40, 60-year gig, lots of benefits and stuff. So I think if a push came to shove, the whole crypto world would come together in solidarity. Even people that probably don't like people, they'd hold hands and they'd come together to sway the government. So from that perspective, I'm not that concerned. And worst case scenario, if the US government did push everything offshore, it emboldens, like Rand said, it emboldens crypto. It's like, hang on a second. The government's trying to ban this. It must be good. So even non-crypto people would jump on and say, I'm part of this. And also I always say you can't put the toothpaste back in the tube. It's out. There's decentralized platforms. There's no stopping this now. It has critical mass, escape velocity, whatever you want to say. That's just my simple take. I'm not that concerned. And even if you look at the pricing action over the last week, 8 days, it's like Bitcoin and crypto assets just brush it off like it's nothing.
Exactly. It was astonishing, right? This quite shocking news last Monday, 1 week ago. And what's happened with the prices gone up. So absolutely. And we have
asking you and Rand, putting you guys on the spot, would you guys, if push came to shove, do you believe, everybody would come together and sway the political leaders? I know, Rand, it doesn't matter to you, but it does impact the crypto world.
I had actually an interesting insight this Friday. We had there was an event. It was organized by Binance, but it was a general event, and we had a member of parliament from Swedish parliament was there, and I got some new statistics, and it was actually more users in Sweden, more crypto people who owned crypto than I thought, and I realized that. Okay, so that means that in the next cycle, new people will come on. This will be enough people that it matters for there will be enough voters that this actually matters for the outcomes of the elections. And I think just like you said, James, I think maybe there's already more people today than many of the politicians realize. And for sure, they will realize that and will take it more into account. I do think so. And maybe it's a simple action that we can do is exactly what you said. We can educate the politicians how many people it actually is, because I think many of them, they don't know. They think it's like a very niche event. Or what do you think, Ram?
I think that this is a voter issue now. I think that Gary Gensler and all of these people can carry on playing games, but ultimately the US doesn't want to be left behind, and I think the voters are going to realize that. And so I think that the US may clamp down on crypto-related scams and crypto-related risks, but I think they'll stop short of actually hurting the industry. They have done some damage to the industry, but I think they'll stop short of doing long-term real damage to the industry.
Do you mean in order to support innovation and the business development, or do you think it's because of there's just enough people who want to trade crypto that they don't want to?
I think, look, the US government has big egg on their face from the FTX thing, from the Celsius thing, from the Voyager thing, from everything around it. And I think that they have to be seen to be doing something, because otherwise people are going to lose their jobs, and people don't want to lose, as James says, these are cushy jobs that pay, if you can become a career politician, you're pretty much set for life, kind of thing. You don't want to lose that job. And so I think what's going to happen in time is that the US, the politicians will make sure they remain in power. And to remain in power, they've got to do just enough to say sorry for allowing the US to be so badly burnt by all these collapses. But on the other hand, they can't be banning crypto and they can't be banning innovation. And I think now it's like a market. A market overcompensates and goes above and below the mean. Now we're at a point where the regulation is very much above the mean and it's going to start coming down, back to mean reversion.
I agree.
Yeah, so you don't think that they will be so dumb to kind of shut this down and stop the next technology revolution in the US or in any of the modern countries? I don't think so.
Bear in mind also that the battle that we're fighting now with politicians is actually not a battle of politicians. Politicians couldn't give a shit. This is a battle about who's lobbying behind the politicians. Now, on the one hand, you've got all the old Wall Street money and the traditional banks that don't want to be disintermediated and all the traditional industries. And on the other hand, you've got all the new industries. And, it's like it's playing a tug of war, but, a lot of people are jumping from traditional world to crypto world at the same time. So a lot of the wallets, a lot of the money is jumping from the traditional world to the crypto world. So, you have to bear in mind that US politics, all politics, but specifically US politics, is about big money. Where is the big money lobbying? What is the big money lobbying? That's what it's all about. You've got to see that.
But James, you live in the US. Do you think that enough damage has already been done, that a lot of the companies will move offshore? They will, close down the US entity, create a new entity in another country and kind of move the business out, even though they still, address the US market?
In the last 10 days, I've seen 3 companies already do that. Dubai seems to be a hot destination as well. Everybody seems to be moving there, and that's the new crypto center of the universe. Kind of like, we've seen different transitions of kind of financial centers in the past to different areas because of tax and regulations, and we're seeing the same thing play out right now with crypto. So I think it's really, really bad for the US. But again, I thinking about why Gary Gensler and regulators and the government is so upset is because they were all completely snowed by SBF, and they must be so embarrassed. So anybody that was in bed with SBF is tainted for life. Nobody can look at them and respect them. And I personally, I was fooled by him. I bought into the whole, he's got a 10-year-old Toyota Camry and he lives in a crappy apartment with roommates and he sleeps on the floor in the office. I was like thinking, wow, this guy is, a real simple person. And I kind of, that type of stuff impressed me. But he was, the other thing that I kind of believe that maybe this guy is real is because, he had private meetings with the SEC, Gary Gensler, and, all the top senators in the country. And that, I think for all of them, they're just so embarrassed, and crypto has given them a black eye because they were scammed by him. That's the issue. That's why they're so upset.
It's incredible timing with this Madoff miniseries that's out on Netflix. If someone hasn't seen it and you're in crypto, you've got to see it because it's exactly the same playing out. Again, it's just a different guy. Very interesting, because very important to understand these big pictures, I think. Let's jump into some of the news. OpenSea and Blur as really hot topic. I mean, I'm not that much into the NFT trading myself, so I'm kind of beginner here. I'm really excited to hear from you. I'm happy to learn what is really happening here and how is this going to change NFT marketplace. Will the royalties go away now, or what's going to happen, do you think? We start. Who want to start?
Let me show you something, if you don't mind. I'm going to just share a screen here. I want to walk you through a thesis here. So, can you see my screen?
Not yet.
Okay, so I have shared it. Okay, so
now you can see it.
So let's go through it. I did discuss it on my show earlier around the fact that I'm actually holding on to a Blur position. So I opened a Blur long on Bybit. You can see I had 100,000 tokens. I cashed out $14,871. I've still got $15,567. And the question is, am I going to hold this or am I going to cut it? And the truth is I'm going to hold it. I'm going to show you why I'm going to hold it. So First of all, you can see that NFT volume is back on the rise. So we were very high, obviously, in the bull market. We came down. Then at some point we turned. So we turned over here in November. And then in January, we surpassed the $1 billion trading volume on NFTs in a single month. Now, where did that share come from? 46% of the share in January came from Blur and 40% came from OpenSea. If you look at, and that is around, on a market where there's currently 8 million wallets that are holding NFTs on Ethereum. So the market is growing. Now, if you look at the volume that Blur is doing, it did $100 million in one day, which is like, it's unheard of. These numbers are unheard of. So what you can see is that Blur is really, it's the real deal. Yes, there are people that are chasing airdrops and everything else, but Blur is the real deal. Now, OpenSea last raised at a valuation of $13.3 billion. And the fully diluted market cap of Blur is about $4 billion. So to me, it says that there could be quite good upside in holding Blur, which is why I'm going to just carry on holding it for now. For now, I'm pretty happy to just hold my Blur position because I just think that there's reasonable upside.
Yeah, it does look attractive. And one of the things that's stunning to me, and I watched the Blur airdrop, and I saw people. This one guy, I can't remember, he got $1 million or $10 million or a huge amount of airdrop Blur. But one of the things that's really impressive is the speed at which crypto users gravitate to platforms. So something comes out of obscurity like Blur, and in a matter of weeks, it's smashing records. And that is very, very important. It shows you the fickle nature of the user, and the user will always seek out the best, cheapest, fastest, maybe the most secure platform to do their business. And that's what's stunning. And that would terrify me if I was a legacy layer 1, layer 2, legacy NFT shop or whatever, because you don't have any control over your customer base. They'll bounce in a fraction. So that's my take.
Yeah, that's a very interesting observation. I think the customer loyalty is very small in crypto if there isn't something holding you there, right? If there isn't some actual network effect, if it's just habit, that habit is very weak. People switch very quickly. It's like you say, it's like no other industry where you can come from nowhere and get this kind of traction in days or weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, also Blur is enforcing the creator royalties, which is like, that's quite a big thing. Like that Blur's enforcing creator royalties, which OpenSea didn't want to do. So I think that's quite a big thing, and that's why I think Blur's quite good for now. Look, OpenSea probably is the bigger exchange in the long term, but for now, for me, worth taking a punt on Blur. Yeah. I think you've got to be in NFTs. You've got to be in NFT marketplaces. It's the equivalent of owning the exchange tokens in crypto, and you've got to be in it. So for now, I'm in.
Thanks for sharing that. That's very interesting. Let's move on. How do you see the whole Bitcoin situation? Of course, it's influenced by the macro environment. We have more rate hikes perhaps on the radar. Will that, put a wet blanket on all speculative markets, including Bitcoin? What do you think, James?
Yeah, this is an interesting one. I go back to what your expectation would be with the pressure on stablecoins and the regulatory pressure on everything that is kind of a Howey test / security in crypto. We know everything is a security with the exception of Bitcoin, and you can even prove very easily that a stablecoin is a security because you're giving something for something, getting something in return. So from that perspective, I would have expected Bitcoin dominance to go through the roof real fast. And that, it's now about 44%. So it's up, but it's midway between what I call the kind of the roof of 49 and the floor of 39. So it's right there, bang in the middle. And I think it'll probably come down again because we've seen, real action happen on some of the L1s, and they are moving fast. Especially if you look at, token X divided by Bitcoin, and you look at the performance lately. So they're not bleeding against Bitcoin anymore. But I think other tokens are being left behind in the dust, and you see that too. And some things are just on fire. So it is a super interesting time. But net Bitcoin will be solid. The move it had so far in 2023 has been very impressive. And don't see any signs of weakening. There's people saying, oh, it's still going down. It's going down to 12,000, 10,000, 13,000, 3,000. I still hear all those same numbers, but I don't know what these people are looking at to say that. That would have to be one hell of a black swan to take us down anywhere near those levels.
Don't stand in front of a moving train. We know this about Bitcoin. For now, the trend is up. It's testing the 200-week moving average, which it hasn't done for a long time, since June last year. Last year, it tested on the way down. Now it's testing it on the way up. It's going to break, and when it breaks, then I guess the last of the bears have to be convinced that we're actually in a new paradigm, in a new cycle. For now, they can argue that potentially we're not, but once it breaks that 200-week moving average, and what's left? Like, what else do you want?
Yeah, I feel also that I'll just take the chance here to show a little of the background. So it's I'm sitting here, Lake Geneva.
Really good.
We're exactly at the 200-week right now, I think.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
We have. I'll show a chart also. It's the Alps in the background. You probably can't see it, but it's really, really beautiful here. I just thought to share the scenery with you all for a second. And now let me share my screen here, because I agree with you both. I feel that, don't fight it. Right now, the trend is up, just like Rand says. Then it's up. Who knows what will happen tomorrow? If it changes, okay, then it changes. Then we do something else. But right now, the trend is up, and we're moving up against key resistances. There's moving averages. We can't see them here, but we're moving up against the technical resistances here from August 2022. We already moved past. We've closed candles higher than we did in August. We're moving up right now. Actually, we're making another run up against the absolute high, like the week from August. And if we break out from here, there's very little volume from here. You can see on the right side here, there's very little volume from here up to 29K. So if we break through here, I think good chances we just jump straight to 29K. Who knows what happens tomorrow? But right now the trend is up. So
I'm sitting here. I'm taking it. I'm adding to my Solana long, because I think the trend's up. You can't. When the music is on, you gotta dance. When the music stops, run and get your chair, take your stop losses and whatever else. I don't think that we're going to get a black swan. I think the prices are going to come down. So right now, the way I'd be trading this market is I'd be buying it and I'd be setting strict stop losses. I've learned this. I remember in my first year trading crypto, not my first year in crypto, but my first year trading crypto, Bitcoin broke through like $1,000. And I was like, I can't buy an asset that's gone from $500 to $1,000. But then the thing carried on running to $5,000 and $6,000. And I was waiting for the pullback under $1,000. So I keep remembering those lessons. And the lesson is, when the music's on, dance. And when the music switches off, find a chair, which means trade with a fucking stop loss.
I think so too. If there is a game of musical chairs, you can't stop dancing immediately, because you know that the music will stop at some point. You dance until it actually stops. And I agree 100%. But James, I really wanted to ask your opinion about the macro situation here. Don't you think the rate hikes will slow things down?
LARSSON, it doesn't matter. And I'll tell you why it doesn't matter, because you're looking at the wrong market. The bull market in crypto right now is a bull market in crypto that is being caused by China. And while the US is tightening its balance sheet, China is loosening. The China injected on Friday $96 billion into their economy. That is the same as the Fed is cutting in a month. So by looking at the interest rates and the PCE situation and whatever else, cool, that's great. But that's not what's bringing in the liquidity to crypto. What's bringing in the liquidity to crypto is Asia, specifically China, specifically Hong Kong, specifically Japan. And what are they doing? Well, they're not tightening. They're not tightening at all, actually. They're putting more money into the economy. So, that's where I think the money is.
Yeah, I agree with that. There's also, I always try and follow the money, find out where it is. And there's a lot of people that have, huge FOMO now in crypto because they were expecting it to get worse before it gets better. All the 70-80% of talking heads are saying, yeah, macro is terrible. I'm going to sit this market out for 2023, and I'm going to jump in right at the beginning of just before April or March 2024, right before the halving, and then we're going to make a lot of money. And I think that's way too late because, again, markets are forward looking. Again, there's $4 trillion on the sidelines, cash in the US that is ready to go into stocks. So those people that are allocators of cash into the stock market, for example, too, they've also been sitting out. And then what people don't forget to remember as well is inflation. Yes, we were in a very bad inflationary environment, but that raises all boats. It raises the price of stuff. It raises the cost of everything. It also raises profits and valuations of assets too. So, a lot of people don't see the simple numbers behind all of this. So, and again, China as well, pumping more liquidity into the world. Again, there's certain assets are just very scarce and they need to be bought up fast.
Do you think China and the other Asian countries try to take advantage of this situation where it's tightening and there's a recession probably in the West and so on, and they try to, take the chance to jump ahead?
China is very, yeah.
Yes. Why do you think all of a sudden Hong Kong has become crypto friendly? Because they're watching what's going on in the United States and they're going, well, you know what? We can't legalize crypto in China because we've got a different agenda, which is our CBDC and digital yuan. But you know what? We can have this one colony. I don't know how you refer to Hong Kong after what's been going on there recently, but whatever the yeah, it's a territory, but not really. But yes, but yes, but no. Long story short, legalize crypto there. Make it completely legal. Make it completely legal for retail investors, which is what they announced today. Make it legal for institutional investors, and then bang, you've all of a sudden got. The Chinese are experts of moving from jurisdiction to jurisdiction to get done what they need. It's like I said on my show today. We covered this whole China narrative, and I said, the Chinese are very much against gambling, but you can go to Macau, which is, I don't know if it's a province or a territory or whatever you want to call it. You do the semantics there, but that's a copy of Vegas. The only difference between Macau and Vegas is that the minimum blackjack table in Vegas is, I think, $10 or $15, and the minimum blackjack table in Macau is $150, because these are degens. So, China's not going to miss out on this. China's cashing in on this beautifully.
Yeah, agree 100%. And so if this continues, if the music continues and we really, we break out of the resistance, we really run maybe all the way into the coming halving, what's your targets for this run? Of course, we can't say for sure. It's not predictions, but we can guess, we can have some funds. What's your target for this cycle, for Bitcoin specifically?
For me or for Ryan?
James, you can start. Sorry, I should have.
Yeah, well, it's really hard to say because it's about how you measure diminishing returns. And I've openly said, it was back in November, I said in a video, I expect by March 2024, the price of Bitcoin somewhere between 30,000 and 42,000. That's before the halving. And that 42,000 layer is a very special layer for Bitcoin. If we get to 42, considering how fast we got to 25, getting to 30 is now like it's in the bag, you could say. I don't want to sound overly bullish, but you showed it on the chart. I call it the air gap. There's nothing there. There's no sell walls once you shoot up that level. So we could get to 30K really quick. And what that'll do, and I've seen this happen, and I think I spoke about it too recently. So I've got friends who've been listening to me for 5-6 years. Ton of them started buying Bitcoin in November and December, and they never bought crypto or Bitcoin before in their very lives. And some of the people are allocating big shares. They're buying 10 Bitcoin at a time. And then you have the legacy veterans who've been in Bitcoin for a long time. They're kind of out of the market, not buying. They're waiting for that very, very low bottom. So if we do shoot to, say, 30K, that's going to drive the next generation of FOMO followers into the space, and all the buyers that didn't buy during the big dips we had between June and November. So I think it could be a crazy time. So back to your question, how high during this run? Easy 70K, north of 100 is possible too. That sounds crazy. But that's only a 4x from here. And again, you have to look at the adoption of Bitcoin. You have to look at the active addresses, the Metcalfe's law, and the impact of ordinals, and the amount of people that are long-term holders now hit, I think, 72% of total supply. I mean, it's just supply crunch time, adoption time. Everything is pointing in the right direction for another good run. But I don't want to sound too hopium-ish, but easy 42K, way up to 67, 69, more is my take.
And Ran, what do you think for the whole cycle? Not just this year, but what's your take for the whole cycle until the next halving?
I don't know, and I don't really look at price predictions in one cycle because my time horizon on Bitcoin is much longer than one cycle. You know what I mean? Like, I'm buying it for much more than one cycle. The cycles are all blurs for me. I buy and I hold Bitcoin, and I don't really care where it's going to. I believe that Bitcoin's going to be sound money, and I think that there are many other very, very, very interesting experiments in crypto that are going to be successful, and that's what I want to be. What I want to be chasing. So, I don't look at targets because I've never been right. So I don't feel like being wrong again.
Yeah, of course, we can't predict the future, but I think if anything, Bitcoin has really gained in confidence in this cycle. All the hits that have happened with all these companies that have gone bankrupt and all the attacks from the US regulators and so on, nothing of it is really touching Bitcoin as such. And if anything, when those things happen, like last Monday, suddenly Paxos, BUSD, maybe the one thing that everyone trusted, was under attack. Where do you run? There's only one place to run, really. If everything starts crashing down, and that is Bitcoin. That's the only thing they can't really touch at this point. And I feel also that, as I say many times, there's only two outcomes of this. Either it's it all fails and we all turns out idiots in the end, or it's a giant success. There is nothing like it's like it went okay-ish. That outcome doesn't exist. So assuming that we're right, and I mean we've all bet many years of our lives on this whole industry. It's a high conviction bets we all done, all the three of us here. And assuming we're right, for sure it will go way beyond the previous all-time high. In my opinion, it will be a mega success, and everyone will FOMO in who missed it last time. They're going to come this time around, and I think we will run to 100, 200 K.
And there's one other element as well, which I think is a real kind of cherry on the cake. So when I go back and look at the level of trust that humans have now all over the world in governments and mainstream media is at an all-time low. And governments all around the world are accelerating to deploy central bank digital currencies fast. And all humans on Earth right now are on high alert of that distrust of government. So basically what governments are doing is they are orchestrating the number one advertising campaign you could ever dream up for Bitcoin.
Yeah, exactly. Almost everyone got it rubbed in their face with COVID, right? And then the same people are coming again and saying, okay, well, this is a great idea. And I agree 100%. Now we have one big topic, and I think James deserves to talk about this one because we have some great price action and some great news about Solana again. And James, why don't you update us on the latest?
Well, there's so much happening right now on that network. These guys are incredible. They don't pay to play. They don't pay anybody to pump anything, despite contrary belief. And, Ran here, he knows the team personally. I've had direct messages with, through Twitter and place with people there. They don't pay. Like if an NFT project, for example, says, hey, Solana, I'll stay if you give me $5 million. They'll say, no, we don't pay to play, go, So that's the first thing. Then all of the updates, just even over the past couple of days, you've got Gum's new React SDK, which is there, Solarplex, product hunt for Solana launched. The Helium network is moving on March 27th. That's probably a big cause of the action over the last 24 hours. And I want to double click into that for a second. Is the Helium network, you talk about daily active users and activity on a chain. That network is massive. How many nodes? 1 million nodes approximately. Lots of daily active users. It's going to be insane what that does. But what that does as well is showcases a real life use case for a blockchain that they're going to do with the decentralized Uber, with God knows what else. And that's a wake up call. In addition, they have the Helios released their Solana NFT API. Jupiter released their token list. Step Finance launched, tons more, and I think Toli just tweeted as well, something like there are 3,942 full Solana nodes around the world, synchronized every 400 milliseconds. Find me a chain, ladies and gentlemen, that can do all of this with that pace of development and adoption and daily active users and daily transactions. They are very, very far ahead of everybody else, but I'd like you guys to challenge me on that. Who is close?
I can't challenge you because I'm tired of screaming about the Solana narrative. So, for me, I just buy. I'm just buying and buying and buying and just, I think Solana emerges successful. I think it stood the test of time. I think amazing projects are still being built on Solana. I think Solana is still working very well. I'm not going to deny that it did have its problems, but it hasn't had downtime for quite a long time. And I think that right now on my list. But it's not the only one on my list. I'm buying Solana, I'm buying Nia. I think there's a layer one narrative that's about to play out.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to lie. I would have hoped for a major retracement in Solana, so I could have loaded up at lower levels. It didn't happen. But, I think so too. I mean, the retracements, the huge retracement in percent of sold token price, there wasn't really any changes in the fundamentals. I think it was potentially extended in one direction, and it got overextended in the other direction. The team is working; they're doing a good job.
That's the market. Yeah,
100%.
They get overbought to the upside, and that was heavy Alameda manipulation as well. Like my target would have been 165 if it wasn't pumped up to 259. So. But where will it go from here? Like, it's amazing to see it's done a 5x in just since 8th of December or sometime in the middle of December, and here we are.
I'm sitting here buying Solana. I just shared my screen so you can see. I just took a position. I just added to my position, so I'm a little bit down. I'm about $1,000 down at the moment, but I mean, I'm very happy with my position. My position ain't going anywhere. So. I'm holding in this account 5,000 Solana, which is a notional value of $132,000. My entry price is $26.50. It's trading at $26.24. I'm cool with it. I'm just adding.
That's great.
What about you, CTO? I will ask you a question because you went a bit dark on Solana in late 2022. You lost a little bit of faith.
I mean, the trend.
Back?
The trend. Just checking. Can you guys hear and see me all right? Because actually my computer screen has frozen here, but I think it's still working, right?
Yep,
we can see and hear you.
That's great. I don't need to see it. I mean the trend was down, so I closed that book. Then I was kind of on vacation when it turned around. I mean, I shared it on several of my videos. I kind of missed the actual turnaround trigger. And then I got sidelined, and then I did like the many classic mistakes. Instead of biting the bullet and buying back higher, I waited for retracement that didn't come. So that's a situation. But I'm really happy, especially for James. You really made a lot of conviction, and you made some really good trades here, entering literally at the bottom with, as you said on the previous stream, with quite a lot. So I'm really happy for you guys. My technical opinion about Solana never changed. So
it's amazing being a technician because you don't actually really have an opinion on many things because you just have an opinion on charting. I wish I had that because I have maybe too much of an opinion specifically on things like Solana, where I'm in love with the tech, I'm in love with the team, I'm in love with the builders, I'm in love with the community. You don't get that. You just fall in love with indicators and charts. And I mean, it's a very cool It's a very cool outlook. You know, Peter Brandt is also very good at that, where he
Oh yeah,
doesn't
yeah.
care whether he's
I mean,
won.
I have a technical perspective. I really like looking into the fundamentals of the projects to try to sort out which ones have a chance of success. And most don't have any. Most projects have 0% chance of success. Okay, then we put them on the side. But I really respect someone like Peter Brandt and so on. He just looks at everything like tickers. It's like 3-letter combinations. He doesn't care what's inside. And I think that's really a cool perspective, actually. And I mean, he's one of the, maybe he's the world's best commodity trader.
He really doesn't care. And I've spoken to him. He doesn't really care. He looks at the chart. He couldn't give a shit whether it was Bitcoin or steel or I don't know what or
Yeah,
oysters. He doesn't give.
Yeah, exactly. Wheat futures. He traded like wheat futures with 500x leverage back in the day, and it's like exactly the same as trading Bitcoin. I love that perspective. I've learned a lot. Okay. Do we have, because actually my entire screen is frozen here, so I can literally not see anything, and I don't dare to change anything either. Do we have any other key burning topics that you guys want to cover today?
I mean, there is PCE coming out on Friday. I think we're going to get a bit of an inflation shock on Friday. But again, I don't think this rally is being driven by the West. So I don't know if it's going to make a big difference to the crypto rally.
Yeah. Well, one thing I did mention as well, that the governments around the world are building central bank digital currencies, which would be the best advertising campaign for Bitcoin and crypto. But the San Francisco Fed just posted a job posting for digital currency development. So U.S. government is hiring in plain sight for CBDC development, as with every other nation in the world. And again, that's a wake-up call. Just to make sure it's our job to make sure we inform people what's coming and give them the information so they can protect themselves down the line. But with everything, like the macro is a mess, but the money printing is just going to accelerate from here on in for the next 80 years. But the reset will happen sometime in the next 3 to 5 to 8 to 80 years. I don't know when, but something is definitely going to break. This is not sustainable. Not sustainable.
Yeah, there's no real way out, right, of many countries, not only the US, but many countries' debt situation. There's no way to get out of that. I think
US
it has to crash at some point.
Yeah, the US is 182 trillion in unfunded liabilities.
Yeah.
You can't even imagine. Oh, I think you could probably coat the earth in dollar bills with 82 trillion of that. It's just such a huge amount of money, and there's no money there to pay it. So
Yeah.
it's just it's as clear as day to us, and I hope the audience get some protection. I don't care what it is.
Okay, since I'm amazed that it's still working. I think the Ecamm Live software has frozen up my computer, and since 10 minutes. But I think we covered all the main topics that I wanted to talk about today, and maybe we leave it at that. Next Monday on one of your YouTube channels, and
I think it's on my channel next week, but it's also slightly later. It's at the later time, right?
we'll get back to the exact time, but for sure next Monday we'll be on again. This happens every Monday. Don't forget to subscribe to both Ran and James. I learn a lot from these gentlemen, and I'm convinced you all will too if you're not subscribed already. And yeah, thanks. Greetings from Switzerland. Later in the week, I'll be back in Sweden. They are not the same country. Thank you, Tak.
Great. Thank you, guys. Love you both.
Cheers, guys.
Audience, take care. See you all soon.
See you soon.
Bye.
Bye.